Okay, we're live.
All right, hello everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to another Facebook Live video from the American Council of the Blind. I am Tony Stevens, the Director of Advocacy and Governmental Affairs for ACB, and with me today I have two folks.
Hi everybody, I'm Claire Stanley. I am the Advocacy and Outreach Specialist here at ACB.
And we are fortunate to have our intern as well.
Hi everybody, I'm Courtney Dignan, the summer intern.
Yay.
Did you do one already? Did you two do one while I was out of town or no?
We introduced her with Eric.
Yeah. That's right. I was off site then. So folks are familiar with Claire and Courtney. We wanted to spend a few minutes today talking about the ADA. Today is ADA 28, the 28th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday! This is something I got into an argument once. Is an anniversary, can you say happy birthday for an anniversary?
I think you can do whatever you want.
You think you can do whatever you want.
This is America.
If we talk about birth of birth of democracy, we can say birth of independence and civil rights for Americans with disabilities.
Some people do call it our
Well, we
Independence
say
Day.
happy birthday for 4th of July. We say
Well, you're right, yeah,
America
turns this many year old. So we'll say happy birthday to the Americans with Disabilities Act. In all seriousness, it was passed in 1990 at a time when it was a great sense of a bipartisan achievement by Congress. We are hopeful that we can gain some opportunities. I'll be talking a little bit in a few minutes about some legislative things that have gotten some bipartisan support. Contrary to what you always hear in the news, there are some things that are positive that we can advocate for. We put the hashtag below this as ADA a day for action. So my hope is that everybody can kind of take a moment today to try to do something to raise awareness about the ADA, disability issues, the rights of people with disabilities, for our community, the rights of Americans who are blind and low vision, but also too maybe if it's calling a member of Congress or trying to do something to take action, because we still have work to do. There needs to be more work in expanding accessibility. But it is genuinely a day of celebration. I don't want to be, a complaining person up here. I will yield to Miss Claire next to me and just throw it out because you were 2?
I was 2.
You were 2 years old.
Good math, yeah.
Which I just outed your age, I guess. Sorry about that. I guess that's not a good thing to do.
No!
But you're still young, so it's okay. You'll be 30 forever.
Oh, thank you.
But yeah, so if you were 2 at the time, so essentially you've grown up in the ADA.
Yeah, I'm what they call as the ADA generation.
The ADA generation.
So,
what are the big things you think that are the greatest steps of the generation that you've grown up in?
As my generation, period.
Yeah, just focus on the whole thing.
Yeah.
I could sit here and remember the days before the Americans with Disability Act, but I think it's important.
Age.
Yeah, we won't mention my age. Feel free, go ahead, knock it out there. But I think it's important to talk about. You've grown up, but then still things are not perfect. But what are some of the great things that you could not imagine living without, thanks to the ADA?
For sure. Well, one kind of anecdotal story I can tell is when I took the bar, I graduated law school 3 years ago. So when I took the bar in 2015, I'm not spending money on this, but if I remember correctly, either the first or second day of the bar that I took was on the anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And this can sound super geeky and corny, but it's true. I remember literally having this moment where I paused and went, wow, it's because of the ADA that I could even take that test with the accommodations that I needed, that I was able to ask for it in Braille, that I was able to have double time, that I could bring in whatever accommodations that I needed, that I could bring my guide dog into the room with me and not get any, flack for that. So again, I don't want to sound super corny, but it really was significant because I had the right to say, I need X, Y, and Z accommodation so that I can be successful in my career, that I can do these things. So because of the ADA, at my old job, so shout out to the Mid-Atlantic ADA Center, they have this fun thing where we say, because of the ADA blank. So because of the ADA, I could go to college and get the accommodations I needed. Because of the ADA, I can go into the movie theater this weekend with my service animal and listen to the audio description. It might seem like a little thing seeing a movie, but it's huge, Some of the more significant things, because of the ADA, I can go to a local courthouse, and under Title II, they have to let me in with my service dog. They have to provide hearing assistance or sign language interpreters for people who are hard of hearing or deaf. All kinds of things. We can go into a restaurant and ask for accommodations to read the menu or what have you. So because of the ADA, I can go out and do things that 30 plus years ago might have been a lot harder to do, if not impossible, depending on the situation. So because of the ADA, my life looks a lot different than it might have looked before that.
It is hard to imagine. I mean, as the old person at the table, inclusion is a huge thing, and I think that's one of the great things. We've got curb cuts, we've got bank teller machines that have headphone jacks that'll talk, but the biggest thing I think is that we are out in the community more. We are more included in society, which is a huge step forward.
Huge.
When you think to older days of really just being shut in and shut out of conversations in society, and that world has moved on to in a cyber sense with the web, and web accessibility is still an issue we have to focus on.
Yes.
But look at when we have had accessibility work, and we talked about this for International Accessibility Day. What was it back in May? Awareness Day, Global Accessibility Awareness Day, back in May. That look at I was working on some stuff for a technology thing we're working on the other day, and it's like you can meet people. I met my wife online. And thanks to an accessible website, because bars are so noisy and loud. I can't go in a bar. But it's opened up communities, and because those communities are accessible, you're able to meet and just have like everyone else in the world. And so, technology, I think, for me, is a huge space where we still have work to do, but it's amazing to think of inclusion in world and around the world, a global, as our world has become more of a global village. Courtney, I'll throw it to you now.
Okay.
Because in a sense, you have come several years after the ADA was passed. And, it's oftentimes we'll say, it's hard to, sometimes we take things for granted and all that. But what are some of the areas you think that still could maybe be like, what's the future? What do we need to push for the next generation of ADA advocacy? We talk about inclusion. I mean, little things sometimes can be big things, but what are some things you think are still some steps that we need to take to become a greater society for accessibility?
I think you definitely touched on one of the huge issues we face today, which is web accessibility. I was telling you guys before we started, I was thinking of like a silly thing I really need to work on, and the first thing that popped into my head is restaurants that don't have their menus online or in an accessible fashion. Because there's nothing worse than just being like forced to eat the same meal at the restaurant every time you go.
Yeah.
But there's even bigger issues than that. I think a huge thing is just being more acclimated to the community and talking about disability and overall changing the stigma surrounding people with disabilities. And just, as you guys said, like being members of the community and making yourself first and your disability second, because you are not defined by your disability.
No,
You're
definitely
defined by what you do as a person, regardless of whether or not you have that disability.
And it's exciting to think about, when we have, like, there was the recent, was it CSI? Was that right? The TV show that had the recent woman?
NCIS.
NCIS, thank you. One of the law shows that had her, and she was just like a regular character, not like a stereotype like Mr. Magoo, which was this dawdling, old blind person cartoon from years of old, or the blind beggar and old stories and stuff. But a genuine, real characters in real world, and breaks down the misconceptions. That is the next tackle, and that's a hard thing to tackle. People's attitudes. It's not the Americans with Attitude Adjustment Act, and trying to redefine that. I want to say, and we don't want to take too much time out of everybody this afternoon, but one thing that I hope that we can try to do, there are some things, as I mentioned, taking place in Washington right now. As we speak, there's a national call-in for the ABLE Age Adjustment Act. Folks might not know about the Achieving a Better Life Experience bill was passed a few years ago. It essentially, if your disability was before the age of 26, you can set up what's like a college savings account, what they call 529 accounts or ABLE accounts. And there's a bill right now to increase that age. We know our community of blindness predominantly now happens for older age adults, so they're not allowed to do this where you can put money that's like a tax deferred savings plan, like a retirement account type thing, and you can move that towards expenses you need. So if it's technologies like IRA or other things that might be technology driven, or if it's buying assistive technology or paying for your service dog, your guide dog's food, all that kind of stuff, you can pull money from the ABLE account. And we're trying to get the age up for that, so that'll be people that will impact our population more. That's called the ABLE Age Adjustment Act. There's also exciting news. There could be moving the AV START Act for autonomous vehicles in the Senate. That's been work that ACB's been working on with a coalition of other disability groups and auto manufacturers. And, you know, we talk about the future. A big major issue in our community is access to good transportation. Gets us to work, gets us more into the community. And the technology coming out with AV, is an exciting technology. It's also exciting for pedestrian safety concerns. I myself have been hit 3 times by a car. So, you know, I will trust AVs more than humans texting their angry, broken up spouse or something. So, in that sense, you know, the AV START Act, that's Senate Bill S559. We sent out an alert yesterday for, S559 is the Marrakesh. That's right, the other thing.
2559.
So, 2559. S2559 is also Marrakesh. We're trying to get Marrakesh moved through the House. That will provide accessible reading materials around the world, not just in the United States. So it's kind of like taking the ADA beyond our borders, and if you're a student studying in France or in Australia or China, you can get international accessible materials through the Marrakesh Treaty, and the House needs to do a few things. So that's the Senate Bill, S2559 for Marrakesh Treaty Implementation Act. We have the AV START Act, which is driverless cars, and then we've got the ABLE Age Adjustment Act. Yeah, I'll be driving with Palmer behind the wheel, my dog. And so, you know, these are things you can reach the Senate and House switchboards at area code 202-224-3121. I'm going to say that again. Area code 202-224-3121. And ask for your local member of Congress, your House member, or your 2 senators, and let them know, you know, there are issues that even 28 years after the ADA, we can still be making steps forward in improvement. What's great is there's steps forward, and we're going to keep moving forward into 29 and 30 years. So thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we will check you out again soon for another live video next time we get a chance. So,
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.